What's that? They would be the, what you would call in the Stargate SG-1, the Tok'ra, the inside people who are not going along with their bosses, but they're rebelling, the white hats, so to speak. So,
hold on real quick, I'm losing track of everyone. So Daniel is the burly guy you met, not Dr. Dan Burrish.
Daniel is the burly guy that I met. He named himself after Daniel in the Stargate series, Daniel Jackson.
Is he okay? Are you sure he's okay?
I'm sure that he's okay now. He's in seclusion. I haven't even seen him in 2 years. He usually lives out in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't like a lot of human contact because he's been psychically trained. He was measured as a P7. He had a special psychic gift called a conduit, which allowed him to feel other people's emotions and thoughts very, very strongly. And as a conduit, he was able to take, like in, everybody see the movie Powder? He could do just that. In fact, it's possible, because he was the only person they ever found that could do that, it's possible that the movie Powder was written about him. I don't know that for a fact, but it's possible. He also has some really weird stories. He said that he was accosted by a gray extraterrestrial when he was in his remote location, and he shot it with a shotgun. And he said that they found out in these programs that the extraterrestrial physiology is like a vegetable and not like a body. So you can shoot them and they don't get hurt. This thing, and it just sort of kept walking. Very weird, huh? So yeah, and that's what's so strange is that when I was in high school, I wrote a story about a guy who shoots an extraterrestrial with a shotgun. And we started to find all these weird correspondences. The first time I took LSD, and I have done acid, I did, 20 some odd trips. I had a very strange experience. As I was coming down the stairs, I was peeking. I was like, what in the world is happening to me? I had this feeling that if I did not create the floor under my feet with my mind, that I would fall through the floor. And so I'm walking very carefully like this, tripping, just, oh shit. It turns out that that's exactly what happened in the Rainbow Project Philadelphia experiment. It turns out that the people who could remember where they were before they went into this gray mist of zero time didn't get stuck in the hull of the ship. But the people who couldn't remember where the ship was and couldn't create the ship from memory, when they got through, they were stuck in the hull and died in many cases because you can't pull somebody out. So he said, he has some weird ideas, and, he thought that I was connected to the project somehow, like my soul is basically helping to relieve the karma of the planet through this thing that happened. And I guess this is part of what I have to do is share this with you, because obviously there's a reason why I met this guy. And that's the funny thing, too, is you can tell that this is real because people ask me a question and I pop out with something new, because I've had many, many hours of conversation with Daniel. No, I'm not gay. No, we're not homosexually involved. Somebody wrote that on the internet. It's like, forget it. I haven't even seen him in 2 years. We were just friends, that's all. Okay? Get over it. And even if I was gay, which I'm not, what possible difference would that have to my message or to the value of the material that I'm sharing with you? Can I get an amen on that? Come on. I mean, really, let's just let go of these ridiculous prejudices, because everybody has a right to be here. Every soul is precious beyond measure. I am not a racist. The DNA level shows us that we are so similar that you cannot actually tell what somebody's race is from a genetic test. There's only very, very weird special things that they have to go out of their way to find to look. But we're 99.9% the same. It is. It's a smear tactic, and it's being used to dumb us down and to get us fighting with each other rather than looking to the source of the problem. Okay? But that's what we're doing. By shedding light on it, we're helping to understand it. So, the reason why I'm going to go into rifts and holes in time is because it has to do with 2012, and it has to do with you breaking down the conditioning Let me finish the sentence. Breaking down the conditioning that has kept you from seeing the greater reality that we live in. Question?
Can you go back to the 20-year space-time cycle?
Yep.
So you were saying before that at the apex of the current cycle, you get a rift in time, and one was created in 1943, another one 1983. Is there a possibility of that happening again at some point in the other?
Yeah.
Okay. He asked a good question, which is, okay, the apexes of the wave and the bottoms of the wave is a 20-year cycle, but especially from top to top, the 40-year cycle, from 43 to 83, you get this big conduit, you get this big rift that was created by the Philadelphia experiment. Now again, it could have been anywhere. It was the fact that the Philadelphia experiment was done when it was, it created a harmonic coupling 40 years later. That's all. I don't know for a fact that that was on the peak of the wave. He didn't say that. However, this wave is a subharmonic. It's only a subharmonic. The 2012 wave is much more powerful because we're dealing with ultimately a 26,000-year cycle. Don't say anything, man. I don't even want to hear it, all right?
Then here's my question. All right? You can talk as long as you like. You have a unique perspective on Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen.
Correct. No.
It's the psychic premonition, right?
Dude, I ain't backing on you, man. No. Okay, so now you threw me off here. All right, so what was I talking about? Oh yes, 2012. The idea here is that it's having a unique perspective on Edgar Cayce. All right, Cayce did, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, he did a grand total of I think only 14 readings that actually dealt with the future, right? About 14 readings that did with the future, yes? Yes? And of those 14 readings, a lot of them were interrupted by his clients who were, who said, I don't want to know anything about that. Just tell me if my partner's a crook and things like that, right? And Cayce has been not only amazingly prescient about what's going on, and his predictions have come true in a way, but not in the cataclysmic nature that a lot of people have expected. For example, he said that in 1998 to 2000, that there would be a shifting of the poles, period, or the beginning of a new age. And it is interesting because there was a polar shift. Not many people know it. In 98 to 2000 or so, when the poles actually shifted, there's 3 magnetic north poles. And the pole actually shifted from one to another to another.
If you're talking about Chandlers Wobble, yeah.
Yeah, Chandlers Wobble, exactly, did happen. He talked about in 1998, the Library of Atlantis, the beginning that it would be found. And of course, in 96, there's an earthquake in Cairo that cracked open the Sphinx Temple complex. And we think that the Tomb of Osiris might be the foyer, if you will, to what might possibly be the Atlantean aspect. So considering that a lot of Cayce's predictions have been pulled down, so to speak, that have been softened by prayer and human action and what have you. And you don't have to stick to that. I'm just pointing out, because of your unique connection to this, the connection and what I am of interest to me, we seem to have done so much work along the lines of the Mayan calendar, the harmonic convergence of 1987, meditations that have been done, 92, 94, earthquakes that have been lessened in California. I mean, working with the Prophecy Research Institute, when Gordon Michael Scallion was talking about the whole West Coast falling into the ocean and whatever else, and so many people did meditations in California, and then the call went out for people to start meditating, and I said, don't tell me what's the same, tell me what's different. And people began to realize that the future was not as dire as many of them thought. So 2012, again, I wasn't